All right. Hello, everyone. My name is Jay, and this is my co-founder, Zach. And today we're going to be doing a deep dive on just AI and math. And for those of you who are new to this podcast, the purpose of this podcast is to share insights from the absolute edge of AI and math education. We are the people who probably think about this stuff more than anyone else, probably in this world, like legitly. And for those of you who are curious about what is going under the hood right now with AI, and for those of you guys who use some Meta, we might change the name to Keep. I don't know yet. But what is going under the hood? How is this
Mm,
affecting my child's math education? So
mm,
we really want to do a deep dive on that piece. And Zach right now is the one who is really focusing on just AI and math right now
mhm.
and figuring out the flow, um, finding the intersection between this large language models, how they work, how they're behaving with
Yeah.
the different types of large language models out there, the way that the kids are interacting with it. So Zach is really, really, really at the front edges, at the edges of that stuff. So we're going to just take a moment, or we're just going to take this episode just to go into Zach's brain about what he's been thinking about in terms of
Mm,
math and AI.
mm.
And yeah, some of the insights that he has been just gaining as he has been figuring out what AI and math education looks like these days. So
Mm.
before we go into the episode, do you want to share anything else, Zach?
No, just excited to be on here just to share a little bit more about myself, just a quick intro. Yeah, I've been working on this for the past, I think it's been, what, 7 months now? Crazy, it's been that long and that short. Been working with some charter schools, been working with some homeschool parents, and just for just normal tutoring kids. Got lots of different insights, and I really do think that this is going to change the landscape for how kids learn. I really do. I have deep conviction on that. Yeah, looking forward to sharing more with you guys.
Absolutely. Yeah, we do have several different people that we are serving right now. We have tutors, we have homeschool parents, we have districts or charter schools. We recently connected with one of the districts nearby here. So definitely getting some momentum there. So why don't you maybe share with us some of the reflections that you've been having with AI and math education lately?
Yeah, I think one of the things that I've been like really thinking about is how much I've been a teacher for 8 years before I started working on this. And even, our conversations, and you have a lot of experience as well, and you're on the forefront of education. And I just realized how much I don't know about education. I'm actually like kind of mind blown every single day because what's been happening is that there have been very many best practices, and there's been a lot of research that's been done in terms of learning education and learning psychology and all these different things. What I realized is that translating that into a way that the AI behaves appropriately, that can like replicate what all of these great teachers of 50 plus years, 30 plus years, even 10 plus years, like what, or even 5 plus years, right? Even a brand new teacher, right? Like they have some skills in there that they're developing and they're using this year that quite frankly an AI can't match. And so what I've really realized is that like, okay, like how do we take what these teachers are doing and bring that and translate that into a context where the AI can really interact with students in a way that a teacher would? And so, yeah, I think one of those core flows that I've really thought about is feedback. So I know we've had tons of conversations about this, Jay, but one of the new features that we just released, same as Stride. And so it's an AI agent specifically designed for giving feedback. So most EdTech platforms out there, most AI is focused around like instruction, which is good. It's great. Or content generation, which is also really good. It's very helpful. But it felt like that was a little bit of a hollow teaching experience to just focus on the instruction or just like the content generation. And so I think one of the things that I've been really fascinated with is um, how unexplored giving feedback is and like how unscalable it is in a weird way. And so like usually when we think of feedback, it's like grading, right? And grading is a piece of that. But one of the examples that I've been using, and actually I was just on a call with a parent recently, and she also made a comparison as well. So like in sports and in music, right? What do you spend most of the time doing? And that's
Practice.
practice, right? So it's not the instruction of showing up and like the coach going through like this is how you dribble the basketball or this is how you play this note on the trumpet. It's not that. The reason why that you show up every single day, every single week is so that you can go through and practice that same note and that progression day in, day out, day in, day out, and then the coach or the music I guess blanking. Not the composer. What are they called? Conductor.
Coach,
Conductor.
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 Yeah.
Or it can be a music coach as well. They'll go through and they'll give you individualized feedback so that you can iterate and keep doing it over and over and over. And so majority of the time spent doing a sport or learning a musical instrument is literally just doing the same thing over and over and over. And the fascinating thing is that we actually education has not optimized for that. In fact, it's been optimized for the instruction piece. And so this feedback loop of like this is how you actually master something, right? Like if you get good at a sport is because you've done that same motion over and over and over and over again. And it's funny how that doesn't translate into school. Where now we're expecting students to master something, but we haven't given them the time or the proper feedback for them to go through that iterative loop over and over again. And so what I'm finding is that I'm having to relearn how like I have taught because, you know, to be honest, when I would assign homework, I just grade based on completion. And I think there's so much to unpack in there, but that's just been one of the thoughts that's been swirling in my head in regards to how much I don't know about education and that whole piece of feedback.
Yeah, so thank you so much for sharing. And yeah, so one of the things that you mentioned about is that AI cannot or is having a difficult time replicating what a great teacher does.
Mm,
And I think that we one of the things that I would like to think through is the difference between a tutor and a teacher.
mm,
So I think that a tutor has a very specific use. I don't know if I say use case is the right
mm.
word. And they have a very specific
Purpose, right?
purpose and task,
Mm,
right?
mhm, mhm.
And their task is to, when it comes to math, is to get a problem. And when the student is stuck, give them the next necessary step so that they can get unstuck, that they can keep moving forward. And then we could go a little bit more microscopic here, but basically there is tutoring, right? So
Mhm.
there's some, because feedback could also be involved in tutoring as well.
Sure.
And so I think that replicating a teacher is going to be a very different story than
Mhm.
potentially replicating a tutor. Now, though I do believe that there are certain aspects about a tutor that is teacherish, right?
Yeah.
So it gets a
Yeah.
little bit muddled there. And
Mhm.
so, and at the same time, a tutor, if we're just looking at it from a very specific task set,
Mhm.
I feel that it can do a pretty good job. And I've had and thought about this for a little bit
Mhm.
and have conversations, which is that AI is infinitely knowledgeable. It might not get that kind of knowledge and apply it correctly in a very specific context,
Sure.
but it has that knowledge, right?
Mhm.
Maybe, and therefore our job as those people in AI and education is to then get this water hose, like a waterfall of a powerful technology,
Mm.
and then being able to put it in a hose and
Mm.
then
Mhm.
pin, and not like not even a hose. I don't think hose is a good analogy. I'm thinking about like, those things where it could cut like metal with it, water can.
Yeah.
right? It's
Yeah, yeah.
so
Uh-huh. I don't know what that's called, but I know
yeah,
what you're
like
talking about.
whatever
Like the
those
jet is so strong that it can cut through metal, and they
exactly.
use it to actually cut metal. Yeah, there's
Exactly.
actual devices that do that. Yeah, I
Yeah.
forget what it's called, but
I feel like that's the people who are able to focus this powerful technology into a
mm,
very specific and focused use case and do that the best,
mm,
right, is going to have the most impact on AI or have on math education
mm,
using AI.
mhm.
And I don't know why I said that, but anyways, yeah.
I do want to clarify one thing though. Like I think you're asking that like what's the difference between a tutor and a teacher, and I've being both, I've really hopefully this I think this is true, and I think I can stand firmly on this. The difference between a teacher and a tutor is that a teacher is the one that is driving the instruction, and the tutor is the one that is supplementing the instruction. And so the what ends up happening, and this is actually in relationship to our app, we originally started off as like a tutoring app, and we still do tutoring, but and because of this, we built our app around flexibility. And the reason why that flexibility matters is because we're supplemental. Every teacher does their drives instruction in a different way, right? Like some of them do use like iExcel or Khan Academy for the homework. Some of them have paper worksheets, right? Some of them don't give homework. Some of them give study guides. Some of them give back the tests to the students so that they can study for the next time. Some of them don't, right? Like so there's a huge variance of what's going on. And so like our tool needed to be able to do all of that because we're not the ones driving the instruction. Now, specifically to that point actually, and sorry, I'm going to jump into it. What we realized is that because we were supplemental, we're really really far away from like the actual driving of instruction. And so, and we knew that our tool could be so much more than that. And so we wanted to get as close to the teacher as possible, the human in the loop as possible. And in this case, we would call the teacher themselves the human in the loop. They're the ones that are driving the instruction. They're the ones that are generating the curriculum. They're the ones that have the most amount of context of like what the student is doing well on, what they're not doing well on, what skills and deficits they have, and what are their interests, right? How do they behave in the classroom? Like, how does that affect their motivation in the middle of the class, right? Like, they have all of that context, right? And so, the further we are from that teacher, that human in the loop, um, the worse our AI actually performs, which is really interesting.
So I love what you're sharing is that teacher drives the instruction and the tutor supplements it. And I think my question, and if you think that this would be a good time for us to go into this part, we can. I think my question is what is the scope of instruction? So
Hmm.
what are the characteristics of instruction? So when you say teacher drives the instruction,
Hmm.
what do you mean by that? And then when you say a tutor supplements an instruction, what do you mean by that?
That's a good question. Yeah. So I would say like specifically like scope. Let's just say I had like your students and they were coming to me for tutoring help. You're the one that's pretty much driving the car, right? You're the one that's driving the car. You know exactly where we're going. If a kid falls off, then like you're completely, you know that they're going to fall off, right? It's your car. You have complete awareness of everything. The tutor is more of like they're driving behind you driving. So if like a kid falls off, the parents call me, "Hey, my student's really struggling. They're getting this grade in math." So I'm there and I'm going to pick them up, bring them back into the car and hopefully catch them up so then they can hop back into your car. Right? So that's kind of like because math curriculum at the end of the day, it doesn't really change necessarily, right? The standards have stayed the same. I mean, gosh, how long has Common Core been out for? I don't remember actually, but it's been out for a long time. The math curriculum doesn't change, but every teacher still is driving you kind of along this curriculum journey, but they're going at their own pace, right? They're guiding the students in their own way. and they're teaching it in their own way, right? So their style of driving, like just how they're catering and servicing the kids, right? It's all different. So that's kind of what I'm saying. I don't know if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think what you're sharing is that a tutor is somebody who catches the kids who fall behind potentially. I think it's a little bit more than that.
Mhm.
I think I'm not sure if we want to go into this because I do want to talk about feedback. So
Mhm.
it's up to you.
Yeah.
I think I want to get a little bit more granular, as in, what are the tasks that are specific to a tutor?
Mm.
And what are tasks that are specific to a teacher? I think
Mm.
that the actual teaching of the content, I do not believe that that is what makes a teacher a teacher.
Mm.
Because I think a tutor can deliver instruction.
Yeah.
And when I mean deliver, it just can teach the concept, whether it's
Yeah.
through AI, through the conversation,
Yeah.
or whether it's watching a video,
Mhm.
it can do that. So
Absolutely.
the delivery of tutoring or the delivery of content
Mhm.
doesn't seem like it's necessarily a condition that makes a teacher a
Yeah.
teacher.
Yeah.
So that seems like number one. So
Sure.
delivery and instruction.
Sure.
Number two is, I would even say feedback would fall under that category. Now, I think we have to be
Mm.
a little bit careful here
Mm.
because
Mhm.
we have to make sure that the both the delivery and also the feedback has to ultimately go through the human. Like the human needs to see,
Sure.
okay, that was good feedback. This is the stuff that I'm going to take from it, and
Sure.
this is what I'm going to share with the kid.
Sure.
I guess a tutor can ultimately come, like even the human tutor. We're not even talking about AI tutors right now. Just a human
Mm.
tutor
Mhm.
says, "Hey, Mr. Kim, like this kid is struggling with this, and
Mm.
here's the evidence for it. How
Mm.
would you want me to take this from here?" And then
Mhm.
so they kind of ask me for the final decision.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it it seems to me that a tutor can give feedback and also deliver instruction.
Mhm.
It's just that it just goes back to, I think, the human in the loop, where
Mhm.
it has to then go through the teacher and then being the final arbiter saying,
Mhm.
this is the thing that needs to be given to the kid. This is the specific feedback that needs to
Mhm.
be given to the kid, because the tutor can give you five,
Mm. Mhm.
but I'm going to specifically just give one,
Mm.
because that I know, with all the context and the nuance, I know that that one feedback, one piece of feedback is going to be very good for my kid, not all five. And I think that's what distinguishes a teacher from a tutor.
Yeah. Yeah. Just to put it bluntly, right? Like they have the ultimate authority, right? Like you were talking about Arbiter, right? Like they're the ultimate, like at the end of the day, no matter what the tutor does, like they're not the ones that are writing their grade report right at the end of the day. And it's kind of a weird way, like now that I'm like talking to you about this, it's like, oh, that is kind of weird. Not Yeah, I would think that it would be a lot more distinct than just like who has the ultimate authority to say like what is this what is the grade for this kid. But yeah, if we really boil it down, that's it's kind of because a lot of the other tasks, the instruction, the feedback, all of that can be offboarded right from the teacher, but the teacher is the one that is ultimately the one that's giving the final say. Yeah, that's really interesting.
And I think being like thinking granularly and breaking down what makes the essential roles of and tasks of a tutor gives us a better sense of what AI's role is in math
Mm,
education.
mhm,
Because
mm,
I think,
mm,
I mean, I don't want to just make a controversial statement just to make it. I think that AI can tutor kids in the way that we described it.
mhm,
It can give feedback,
mhm,
it can
mhm.
teach content,
Absolutely.
but ultimately, the teacher is the final arbiter, right?
Yeah,
And I think
yeah.
this another unique insight that I think, just by talking, is that the purpose of AI slash tutor is to provide the best set of actionable steps that the teacher can choose from.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm.
the AI synthesizes all the data that it's gained through the
Yeah.
conversation or whatever,
Yeah.
and it presents choices
Mm.
for teachers and says, okay, do you want to take it this? And then the teacher can just go ahead and choose.
Yeah.
It seems to me that that is the right flow of AI in math education.
Mm.
If I could just add one more thing is, yeah, I don't know. What do you think about that?
No, that's a conclusion that we've kind of come to as like a company, and as like me like working very closely with this. It's like, yeah, like the again, like going back to like how does learning happen? I'm realizing more and more that human adult, that person, that teacher, parent, whoever's in charge, who's making that final choice, that's the person that the AI needs to serve. Right? That's the person that really needs to be optimized for this. Everything else the human can do, but if you can make this human, if you can offboard a lot of these repetitive tasks, I won't even say they're menial because these are really important, like giving feedback, giving instruction, those are really important. But if we can offboard some of that load so that the teacher can then have all of the context and get it not within 1 hour, 2 hours of grading, but they can get it in like less than 5 minutes and make a decision, then like I would even say like less than a minute, right? Like just the how fast AI has been performing, and so like if they can make those split second decisions for these kids real time, then I think we've unlocked like a superhuman, right? like
Yeah.
like these like it's you as a great teacher, but you as a great teacher if you were able to give like individualized instruction to 30 kids.
Exactly. I think so. One of the thoughts that come to mind as you're sharing with individualized and personalized learning and the superhuman, right? Supercharged human is this idea. Okay, you know how we're in like different roles.
Sure.
So what you would do is you would go through the product and then you would just gather pure data and you're just like playing with pure data
Mhm.
and you're just like you have so much data. And because I'm focused on marketing, I don't have time to synthesize a
Mm.
waterfall of raw data.
Mhm.
All I need to hear from
Mhm.
you are, okay, here are like four things that we have to make a decision on.
Mm.
And then you give me the four decisions. Like, okay,
Mm.
this. Let's
Mm.
go to
Mhm.
marketing. I will have all of this raw data, and I say,
Mm.
okay,
Mm.
Zach, there's like three things that we need to talk about.
Mm.
What are your thoughts? And then we make a decision
Mm.
together. So it's this
Mm.
AI's role in, I guess AI's role just in general, but specifically in education, is to be able to gather massive amounts of raw data and then synthesize it. I mean, I'm just gonna repeat myself. Synthesize it into insights.
Mm.
So it doesn't necessarily have to just be actionable. I think it just has to be insights that
Mm.
are valuable.
Mm. Mhm.
And then from there, um, create action steps that are
Yeah.
also valuable.
Yeah.
Now, I think that's another conversation. Is the question is what is valuable data? What is the valuable
Mm.
information
Yeah.
that would be presented to the hill for them to
Mm.
know
Mhm.
the insights of, and then
Mhm.
to be able to take action. But I think that part, I don't think I want to go into the feedback a little bit more,
Sure.
so we can table that conversation.
Sure.
But I think,
Just a quick touch point on that.
yeah, go.
Like that right there, like what you're talking about is actually really, it's so important as a piece because it's like now this goes back to like what I said at the beginning, where it's like, what data do we actually track for good teaching? And I really had to like dig deep inside, like,
Oh yeah.
what is the actual stuff that we're doing here? Like, obviously, I know this kid is like crazy over there, but like, how do we turn that into data that we can use, right? Oh, this kid over here is, he keeps making the same mistake. How do I turn that into data that we can use? And so, just that whole piece has been like it's really, I feel like if I were to hop back into the classroom, like now, like my brain is completely different on how to like help these kids out
Yeah.
because of this process. But anyways,
Yeah, I
yeah.
bet like you you working on the product. Oh, it's on. Okay, thank you. You being on the product, I bet like because you have to think like granularly about this stuff. Well, what
Yeah.
is good teaching?
Yeah.
Right? What is valuable information? And
Yeah.
then I think we just kind of, as teachers, have this assumption of like, oh, this is good information. But now you actually have to think and
Hmm.
actually be able to articulate
Exactly.
super clearly what is valuable information to me. What
It,
is my role?
it's funny because I used to say before I started working on this, I used to say that you could tell if someone's a good teacher if you could just smell it.
Mm,
Because
yeah.
they have like a certain presence, right? Like they
Uh-huh.
have a certain way of like going about things, and they have a certain perspective on like how they view the students and like kind of, and you can tell like the data points that they're collecting and like how they're digesting that data based on how they talk. It's so funny because now I actually have to like externally say that and put it into the product and communicate that to people that are on our team. And it's just, it's hard. Yeah. Good teaching, it's definitely an art and a science. It's really hard to really contextualize that and just duplicate it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. Yeah. In order for us to be able to break down what teaching is, and I think we need to, I think personally, thinking and putting ourselves as a machine tutor, I think just thinking about the fact that we're creating tutors, I think is helps me to see our like product or what we're making, our app
Mm,
most clearly, I think.
mm,
Because teacher, like
mm-hmm,
we talked about, has to be human and then the
mm-hmm,
arbiter. So it doesn't make
mm-hmm,
sense. We can't
mm-hmm.
automate. The only thing that we can automate is like delivery and feedback and those things that we talked about.
Here's a hot take.
Yeah.
So I know you want to get into
Yeah.
feedback, but I had an interaction today. I actually think that this is a very hot take. I think math expertise is going to become more commoditized, where it's going to be more accessibly available. And so, what's actually going to happen is that a lot of these people that specialize in intervention and how to like motivate kids and get them to do the work, I think their skill set is actually going to become way more valuable. And obviously, a math teacher needs that. But I was like talking about with the charter school that we're working with. I was like really thinking about it. I was like, both of these people aren't math people, but our app is actually able to give them the expertise so that they can get these kids to start producing work and do things mathematically correct. And it takes a load off them because now they don't have to grade. They don't have to understand all this stuff. So, anyways, I know that's a completely separate rabbit hole, but that's one of the things that I've been like, that gets me really excited because a lot of these kids that are falling behind in these cracks, now we can fully mobilize these intervention teachers to be able to help these kids. So now we can reach out, we can hit so many more kids that are falling between the cracks. That really excites me.
Yeah. I do appreciate the hot take because I think mathematical expertise is being more and more commoditized. I think that expertise is still necessary
Absolutely.
because you have to still make a decision in your mind. I need to take it here so that I can take it here. But perhaps even that, like mind mapping, maybe AI could.
I guess in this instance, the intervention teacher would behave more as like a tutor, right? So it'd be they would be the human tutor, and then they'd be reporting to, right? Because most intervention classes are usually a subset of your guys's actual math class. So I guess it would be, yeah, um, the math expertise for teachers it's already so such in high demand, right? Like math teachers are definitely in high demand, but now we can kind of segment that off to I guess subsets of the math classroom. So I guess that would be how I would clarify that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm very open to the idea that AI can take over content completely. Like
Mm,
I mean,
mm,
I'm open to entertaining the idea, it probably doesn't seem viable yet. And the reason being is because, like we talked about, AI as a tutor,
Mm,
what they can do is they can give insights and then actionable steps that a human can take
mm,
based on those insights.
mhm,
But they cannot, ultimately, the human is who makes the decision, right?
mhm.
But in order for you to make the decision, one of the decisions that you have to make has to be based on content knowledge.
Yes,
So, like,
absolutely,
for
absolutely,
example, like
absolutely.
if a AI says, okay, I think this kid needs to go through like systems of equations or whatever, like the teacher, or it says, okay, the kid could either go through fraction or proportions or percentages or whatever. It gives them a couple of options that they can
Mm,
take. But then the teacher knows the content knowledge is that, oh, I know that the most important thing that the kid probably needs,
yeah,
given a year or two from now on or whatever,
yeah,
or just most important thing in life is going to
yeah,
be whatever,
yeah.
they can then choose. So it seems to me that
Mm,
content knowledge is still necessary.
mhm,
um,
mhm,
I mean, the obtainment of content knowledge and expertise can be 10x now, but regardless, the
mhm.
content knowledge is still a very much a human necessary part of a hill.
Yeah,
A
yeah,
hill,
that's a key piece in making a decision and a judgment. Yeah,
exactly.
I actually agree. So I'd probably amend that hot take a
Yeah,
little bit.
yeah,
Yeah, because I think, yeah, you're absolutely right. At the end of the day, that the direction that the kid needs to go, the AI can only get it so far. Or yeah, we probably won't have the entire journey be AI. But for like those key pieces, right? The instruction, the feedback piece in particular, even in some aspects, the content generation. I'm thinking like problem generation. I think that will be there. But yeah, there's something to the human creativity and being able to and decision making that like can't be replaced.
yeah. And I think if we were to dive a little bit more into what a human does in order to make a decision, so I'm like dissecting my own
Mm,
thinking,
yeah,
is that number one, you need the content knowledge.
yeah,
Users know, okay, after this comes this, then
yeah.
this, and then they probably want to watch out for this part when they learn this. So
Hmm.
users have the content knowledge to be able to kind of direct the tutor where to
Yeah,
go.
yeah, yeah.
So number one seems to be content knowledge. Number two seems to me like the understanding of the students themselves,
Mm,
right? So I think the AI they can have all the information about the student, whether it's their grades or their IEPs, 504s, right? They
sure,
can
sure.
aggregate all that data and then synthesize it and then give me options. But ultimately, the stuff that the AI has access to, their IEPs, 504s, which are helpful, are still an incomplete picture of what a
Yes,
student is.
yes,
So then
yes,
it has given me helpful information, but
yes,
it's not all the information that
yes.
I know of that student because I interact with the kid, right? I see him every single
They're a
day.
person,
Yeah.
right? Like, and I think that's the most important piece that the AI cannot account for.
Yeah. I mean, unless like there comes a point where AI is like watching her class the entire time and they go like do facial recognition,
I
all
don't
that
know if I
stuff,
want
which,
that.
but I mean, anyways, but yeah, I think at this point, it still seems to me
Mm,
that in order for a teacher to make a decision, they need to have the content knowledge,
yes,
and they need to have relational information and awareness of their students.
yes,
And then based on those two things, they can then make a decision on the actionable steps that the AI has given to the
right.
teacher
Because the
to
AI
make.
is primarily outputting just the rote student data piece of the math, right?
Mm,
That's all the stuff that's already been aggregated.
yeah,
And so now you're just removing that legwork because the teacher used to have to do that. And that was the most time consuming part, actually.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah. Yeah.
really,
Yeah.
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 So,
Wow.
yeah. I mean, the
Huh.
actual like teaching of the material and all that amount of data that the teacher had to themselves keep in mind,
Mm.
right? And then
Hmm.
somehow process it all.
Hmm.
All that work, it seems to me, is now automated. Like that, delivery of content could be automated,
Sure.
feedback can be automated,
Sure.
and the teacher doesn't have to hold all that raw data in their minds, process it, and then come up with action steps that they think is their best.
Mm-hmm.
Now the AI up to that point can automate,
Mm-hmm.
right? And then the teacher just says, okay, let's go here, and then releases the agents then to go and do their thing to
Yeah.
tutor the kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I think this is really good because it helps me to, and it helps like parents understand their role now
Mm-hmm.
with AI,
Mm-hmm.
right? I think a lot of parents might think that, oh, I still need to like teach my kids, or even like just education in general. Like, do I need to teach my kids? I like, even though like I get a lot of students who say, Mr. Kim, I want you to teach it. But that's more, I'm not any more effective than the
Why
AI.
do you think that is actually? That's really interesting. Because are you using like AI for their instruction? Is that what's going on, or what?
So okay, so this is what I've distilled is that number one, they just are so used to the sage on the stage, the teacher, like they don't think it's teaching. By the way, I'm not speaking bad about my students or anything, but I don't think they think that it's teaching if a teacher is not direct, is not giving direct instruction.
Oh, interesting.
They because like a lot of times students have told me, Mr. Kim, you're not doing your job. Yeah,
Interesting.
because I appreciate the feedback. Honestly, obviously, I want you to be kind, but a lot of kids have said that to me. I was like, very interesting. So the kids think that direct instruction is actually what makes a teacher. But I teach online, right? And so there are videos out there that has visuals that I cannot. It will take me like 20 hours to make something like that. These videos are way better than I can ever direct instruct, but they somehow has this idea I still prefer you teaching it.
Mm,
So it's not necessarily for the utility or
mm,
the effectiveness of the direct instruction.
interesting.
It's just this I guess emotional thing that they have. But what I
Huh.
realized was that's not even what the kids want. I thought the kids wanted me to literally teach them. But I think what the kids wanted to feel is that I took the time to be intentional about my instruction.
I was thinking about the word connection.
Yeah.
They're really looking for connection.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's because I shifted from like literally going through each problem to saying, hey, when you do these sets of problems, I want you to watch out for this piece right here because
Mm,
this piece is the most important piece. Now, you can either come to the office hours to talk to me about it in person, or you could ask AI to get help, or you can watch a video to get help on that piece. But this part is the most important piece. This other part, derivation of trig or trigonometry, like trig identities,
sure.
it's not super important. But if you want to know where these derivations came from, now you can go ahead and study them if you like. But they're
Mm,
not super important. So if you can't explain it perfectly, you might lose a couple of points, but it's not a lot. The most
sure.
important thing is then being able to apply the trig functions to these specific problems.
Mm,
So I don't teach anymore, but I point out the most important part. So that's like where the
hmm,
content expertise comes.
mm,
The
mhm,
AI can tutor the kids,
mm,
but the AI does not, AI has not yet, at least, cannot take the role of me as a teacher and say, this is the part that I want to focus on.
mm,
This is the part that's less important. Because some teachers can actually disagree with me. They can say, no, the
mhm,
derivation
mhm,
is the most important part. And the application of the formulas are the less important piece.
mm,
And so we can have an argument and conversation about that. But
mm,
I personally made the decision that looking at calculus, whatever, I was like, the application is more important. And
mm,
so this is the idea of, yeah. So like and now that I started doing that, the kids don't say that anymore. The
mm,
kids don't say, oh, Mr. Kim, you're not teaching anymore. And so I feel like I am now finding a good balance
Hmm.
of what a teacher is now in an AI world. The
Hmm.
teacher, like we talked about, is the content knowledge of it. Like, this is important, this is not.
Hmm.
Forget about it. I know this is what I was talking about. For example, subtracting 7.2, okay,
Okay.
or 1/5 or 3/5, like rational numbers with
Okay.
one-step equations.
Okay.
It's like so tedious. And the return on that is not very much, personally. That's
Hmm.
a personal decision that I make. I would much rather have students use hanger diagrams, tape diagrams to be able to visualize and make those mathematical connections with whole numbers because it's going to help them make those connections a lot easily. And those connections are what's more important for me
Hmm.
than
Hmm.
being able to, okay, 3/5 minus 7.2. This is just a calculator. I don't even do that. Nobody does that. Nobody does 3.5 minus 7.2 or 3/5 minus 7.2, right? So I, as a teacher, make that decision for the kids and
Hmm.
say, this is what's important.
Hmm.
Rest of it, just I want you to focus on the mathematical connections. Yeah, that is to say, all of it is the app that we're building, I believe can automate the teaching part,
Hmm.
can step-by-step guide, whatever. It could also always be optimized. But the hill, the product has to be used by a hill that understands his or her role in the teaching with AI. Because what I did before was I gave too much to AI, didn't work. And then I started
Hmm.
doing too little to AI, that didn't work. And now I
Hmm.
feel like I found a really good balance of
Hmm.
leveraging AI, but not being too reliant on AI.
I think that's a dynamic that, like, now that's a big insight for me because I didn't think about it in that perspective where that usually when we're building a product, right, we're thinking about the user. And the user is, in this case, most of the time it's students, right? Like that's what most EdTech focuses on. I'm not saying that EdTech doesn't focus on the teacher at all, but I think the nuance is even bigger with AI, right? Because now here are some repeatable patterns that teachers do: feedback, instruction, all those different things. And now it's okay, like how much do you offboard to the AI? And so that's a really fascinating question because like now that I'm kind of thinking about it, I'm like, huh, this is actually one of the tutoring students that has been giving me some, not giving me some issues. She's having some issues, and so her parents, we came up with a new workflow with the feedback to hopefully alleviate that. But her parents wanted me to come and do in-person tutoring, and I was like, oh, that's really interesting. And I haven't really fully digested like what that's necessarily about. But what I do know is that, yeah, I think we're running into a similar problem where, like, yes, there is an aspect of like, hey, like you are using the AI tools. There is an offboarding thing, but just like your students, it's like, hey, I want you to come here, be in person, make a connection with me, so that I feel confident in doing this. And so, yeah, like, what is that balance? Obviously, you're in one particular class, but and we're looking to scale this, but like, yeah, like that's a really interesting point that I haven't really thought about and thought through. So that's really insightful.
Yeah, and I think that's why our YouTube channel, Math for Keeps, is really important. And the reason why is because parents, they might not necessarily know what is important. When they look
Mm.
at a textbook, everything is important. But for me, because I've spent so much with the content, there
Mm.
is a thread of the way that math is built on itself that are absolutely
Mm.
necessary. And
Mhm.
as long as you get that thread, everything else can be
Mm.
deduced from that thread.
Mm.
But if
Mhm.
you miss the thread,
Mm.
doesn't matter what you do here,
I love that.
it's not going to make sense.
Mm. Mhm.
So I think that's why our YouTube channel can be a very powerful tool
Mm.
because of the content knowledge that I have and because I know the stuff that like I derived instruction and the AI comes and supplements it. And then
Mm,
I say, hey, AI, this is what's important. So spend
mm,
most time with the kid
mm,
on this concept.
mm,
But I'm the one who's saying that, right?
mm,
And
mm,
educating,
mm,
and honestly, that comes to a specific philosophy too,
mm.
and like a specific philosophy of math education, because some
Yeah.
teachers would argue everything is important.
Yeah.
But then I disagree with that philosophy
Sure.
because in any job, you cannot do 100% of your energy on 100% of the things. You have to allocate the most important parts of your job and then pour the most.
And I would argue that like people that are out there listening and they're working, it's like I would even say that it's like you don't you can't dedicate all of your energy to 100% of the job because it's like that's impossible. Usually the job, this is why like people get paid the big bucks, right? They're usually very efficient at like figuring out, okay, like I only have this amount of effort that I can output. How do I strategically deploy that to make sure that not all 100% is fully covered, just enough to make it efficient and like feel really good. So maybe that's only like 30% of the entire workload. And so they're able to do maybe in that case 3 times as much because they're able to allocate their resources over across 3 times as much space.
Yeah. And I think it's for like content knowledge, right? And to be able to know how to specifically focus, like that water laser that we talked
Yeah.
about, really one has to go through the entire thing.
Yes.
Like you have
Yes.
to go down here and you're
Yes.
like, wow, that was horrible. Like that, I'm never gonna do that again.
Yeah.
And then you go all the way over here and oh my gosh, that was horrible.
Uh-huh.
And once you've gone through iterations, there
Mm.
comes this beautiful like building
You're able
block.
to cut through all the way
Yeah,
and you see the line that goes that
exactly.
connects all of it.
And right now, because I teach 7th grade, I teach 9th grade honors, I teach 11th grade integrated math 3, and then pre-calc and then pre-calc honors. So I teach 5 different math classes.
Gosh, dude.
And
What?
because
You have 5 different preps?
I do.
What?
Yeah. Because I have 5 math classes and I see all the concepts from pre-calc all the way to 7th grade. Like it forces me to see the line like never before. And I'm like,
That's
oh,
really interesting.
yeah. I'm like, oh, in the 11th grade, this is what happens. And then when they go to pre-calc, this is what happens. Therefore, I have to make sure that I cover this piece. And all this other stuff, like we can just like forget about it. But this piece is what's really relevant,
Wow.
right? So, yeah, I think
I
that,
am going to say too,
yeah.
that sounds impossible to do without AI. By the way, that sounds impossible.
Yeah.
Like I'm credentialed to be a math teacher, but I primarily stayed in science. And like that just sounds impossible to do.
Yeah.
Even if it's one class, maybe you have a smaller class size, maybe 125 student class. That doesn't sound
Yeah.
that you could do that without AI.
I had 5 preps before AI happened. And it was nuts, dude. It was really nuts.
That sounds
Yeah. It was doable. And I barely it was a lot of work. But yeah, I think now with AI, it's definitely automated a lot of things and it's opened doors for a lot of different things. But it's already been 54 minutes. I think we had some really good conversations. I think we were able to really nail down the role of a tutor and that I do believe that AI can automate tutors. And not in a sense of like, tutors, you suck, now you have no job. Not like that. But literally, if we were to break down the tasks of a tutor, that's what AI can do now. And so therefore, AI, if it can automate it, that's another question. Should something be automated because it can? I think it should, if it can. So given that it can be, then the human role very much shifts. And the human role is ultimately being the arbiter. And to be the arbiter, you need to have content knowledge and then human relational knowledge that on paper is not captured.
Yeah. And at the end of the day, the market is just math is still one of the, if not the, it's probably, I think it is the most painful subject. So there's always going to be a need for tutors in some type of capacity. What's you kind of threw out there like an interesting like kind of dilemma. It's like the tutors can also use this, right, and optimize their flows and become really efficient at like teaching the kid. And so that's a really fascinating perspective that if there's any tutors out there listening. But it's a very manual job, so you can't. The expectation is that you're there with the kid.
Yeah.
I don't know how scalable that is, but
Yeah.
it's possible.
Yeah. And I think being able to identify the role of a tutor and the role of a teacher, I think helps me to really draw the correct boundaries for our app. And AI just in general. Like with math, we talked about
Yeah.
direct instruction or
Yeah.
delivering instruction, feedback, and then its role is then to give synthesized insights and then actions on those insights.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So that definitely, I think that's what we're building right now.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So
yes.
I
Yes.
think
That's what we're building.
We're gonna do the best
Yeah.
out of everyone.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
It's hard. It's hard. Like, I'm not saying this to like just promote us, but it's really hard. It's really difficult. Like, a lot of the tools out there are just like tutoring tools, and they're primarily instruction. Really, like, this journey of that kind of goes back to what I said at the beginning. It's just like learning what kind of data the AI can best behave with, what's relevant. I think that's part of the secret sauce. I don't think that's the entire thing, because I think people can figure that out, but it's hard work.
Yeah.
And it's going to take a teacher to be able to figure that out, in my opinion.
I do agree. I think I say it like, oh, that's the part. Like, that's the tutor's role, right? Synthesize information and then poop out the action insights and action steps. But to get there, oh my gosh, you have to work with the large language models and the way that it outputs it
Sure.
and to synthesize all of it.
Sure.
Is there another AI call that's happening here with a specific prompting? And what are the philosophies that determine which data passes through that second checkpoint? Are there multiple checkpoints? Right.
Exactly.
It's just like, yeah, to figure out that flow is not easy.
Yeah. And then the other thing that I would add in there is that, like, the big segment that's happening right now is the fact that the tutor and the teacher are usually separate. But what if the tutor could now directly talk and interact with the teacher? And that's kind of what we're thinking about, and that's what we're looking at to build. Because if you're able to get that data of that student work, then that assistant for that teacher just becomes super powered.
Yeah.
And now the teacher is then able to do so many different things.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that is the Hell Agent that
That's
we're
the Hell
talking
Agent.
about.
Yeah,
right?
that we're working on. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Zach. I appreciate your time. I feel like we learned a lot.
Yeah, this was fun.
Yeah, no.
It's always fun talking to you, man.
Yeah, I feel like we just like learned so much like through these conversations.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you guys all for listening, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.
See you in the next one. Bye.